This is the best piece of advice that I have gotten in my coaching career. Back in 2016, I was running my CrossFit and I went to get my level 2 certification. There was a coach at this certification who gave me this piece of advice, and ever since then I've implemented it into my practice as both a coach and as a parent. And anybody who wants to pass on information from one person to another would benefit from this piece of advice. And that's what I would like to talk to you about in this video. Hopefully, this piece of advice can help you in your practice, whether it's being a coach, whether it's a teacher, a parent. Anytime that you need to pass on information from yourself to another, this method that I'm going to show you will drastically improve your process. Here is the one piece of advice that coach at that level 2 certification told me. He said, don't think of a banana. Huh? Don't think of a banana? Okay, I'm trying not to think of a banana. I'm not thinking of a banana. If you thought of a banana, don't worry about it. It's kind of the reason why this piece of advice lands so well. Imagine you're at a pool deck. There's a pool. There's kids all over the place, wet surfaces, kids slip, and more than often they're running around all over the place. And there's a lifeguard there who's constantly saying, stop running, stop running. Hey, stop running. That is the same thing as don't think of a banana. You're trying to get a person to stop doing an action, but you're not telling them what the action you want them to do. Instead of saying, don't run, how about you just say, walk, 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 you little, in technical terms, this is called the ironic process theory, is the more you try not to think of something, the more your brain just locks onto it. And once you're aware of this, you start to see it everywhere. Every time I go into a restroom and you see that sign that says, don't flush towels down the toilet. Can there be a better sign than that? How about only flush toilet paper down the toilet? The directive is just flush toilet paper. But if you say, don't flush tampons, towels, needles, toys, diapers, if you say don't flush all these things and you list them all out, well, what is the idea that you're putting in the person's head? The idea is that when you tell the person to stop doing the thing, you're reinforcing the thing that you don't want them to do. I'm constantly talking to my kids about this, and I hear parents do this all the time. Stop hitting your brother, or stop making a mess. With my 9-year-old, for some reason, this kid cannot keep food, from falling on the floor or getting on the table. So I say, the food either goes in your mouth or it goes on your plate. Or I might say, eat over your plate, as opposed to stop making a fucking mess. You know what I'm saying? I do this constantly with my kids, and maybe you do something similar. Maybe you're telling your kids that why do you get F's all the time? Stop getting F's, or stop getting D's. Stop getting bad grades. Stop not doing your homework. We're constantly negatively reinforcing the things in our kids that we don't want them to do. But it's reinforcing that. So it's flipping the script, saying, get A's, just get A's. You'll be fine, get A's. I would say the biggest reason why this is such a powerful piece of advice, it's the way our brains are wired. Our brains are wired to just visualize. They're not wired to negate. Going back to my first example, don't think of a banana. There's no way that you cannot think of a banana. The same thing, stop yelling, stop hitting your sister. It's the same thing. If you just say, stop hitting your sister, all your kid is just hearing hitting your sister, hit your sister. What can I say other than stop hitting your sister that, gets the kid to stop hitting them? In the 80s and 90s, there was this big campaign to get kids and adults to stop smoking. I think it was the 80s is when that whole Surgeon General warning came out. But in the beginning, they were saying, don't smoke, stop smoking. And that didn't help. They had to try to figure out why, they were spending so much money on this stop smoking campaign, but everybody kept smoking. Well, why. It's because they were saying, don't smoke, 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 smoke. They were just saying smoke. They had to really flip the script, and eventually they settled on something better because smoking gradually got less and less and less. But you see my point, right? If you say the thing that you don't want them to do, it's like a double negative. Stop smoking, stop doing drugs. Think of something else. Read a book. Read a book is the totally opposite of, stop doing drugs. What do I want the person to do? When you can think of the thing that you want the person to do, say that. That's what this video is all about. It's about stop saying, I hear coaches saying this all the time. They say, stop doing, my kids play water polo. I'm trying to think of an example, but the coach will just say, stop throwing it that side. Stop throwing it over there. It's like, well, what do you want them to do? Take a moment. What do you want them to do? When I learned this back in the days when I was a CrossFit coach, it immediately improved. So, for example, during deadlifts, people notoriously round their back when they do deadlifts. If you go to a CrossFit and there's a coach saying, stop rounding your back, that's no help whatsoever. So what I started doing is I started saying flat back, straight back, long spine, stick your chest out. These are the cues of what I want. Stop rounding your back is no good at all. It doesn't help anybody. Another thing too is during squats, air squats, back squats, front squats, knees, and they cave in. And a lot of it has to do with flexibility. Your knees are coming together, so stop doing that. That doesn't help anybody. Instead, what I would say, so I would say knees out. Or an even better way is, for you coaches out there, it's called a tactile cue. If I held my hands out and I asked them to press against my hands with their knees, that really reinforces it. So those are the couple things that I did to help improve myself as a coach. Let's bring this home. If you want somebody to do something, tell them what you want. If you see a kid running, say walk. If someone's yelling, use a quiet voice. If you want someone to think of an orange, tell them to think of an orange and stop thinking about bananas. Try this today. If you are in a situation and you want a person to do something different than what they're doing, take don't out and add do. It just takes a moment to think about what you want them to do and just ask them to do it. Bye.